Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today for URL's product profile series. Those of you who are unfamiliar with URL, we're a full service brokerage operating out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I say full service because we offer life, health, Medicare, employee benefits, and of course, my personal favorite, annuities. What we really do or look to do is to put our expertise at hands for you to be full service with your client. Get the cross-sell opportunities, keep your client in with you, do a one-stop shop as an agent for you. So please note that these product profile series are ways for us to highlight some of our carriers and some of the products that we really like or that are jumping out to us right now that we really want to bring to you and bring that information to you. Today, we will have National Western Life Scott Gabrielson joining us. Scott is the Regional Sales Director for National Western Life and is here today to shed a little bit of light, like I said, on a new product / strategy that we have here. I don't want to ruin too much, and also offer kind of what National Western Life also has to offer and kind of make relevant in today's market for us. So Scott, thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate it. You joining us, and I'd love to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. Thanks everyone for taking a little time out of your day. Want to keep it really tight and high level for you. Going to talk a little bit about National Western, a little bit about our strong renewal rates on this product in particular. Going to touch on our commission incentive, our enhanced agent commission incentive, to give you a little extra boost that kicks in as low as $500,000 in premium, so really attainable. And then I'm going to talk about a strategy that I personally think is relevant in today's marketplace. With the S&P has been on a tear the past 12 months in 2023, and you think, where does it go from here, right? This is a strategy that's going to position your clients extremely well to see gains in their portfolio with this product using our performance trigger strategy. So I'll jump in here and we'll get going. So National Western Life, we've been around since 1957. We're A-rated. We have zero debt. We're a family-owned and operated organization. All of our service processing, everybody is in the United States, mainly in Austin, Texas. So we've been around a long time, and we continue to help people build their legacies. Renewal rates. We're going to talk about an accumulation product today that is, as all FIAs has renewal rates. So we're looking at an example in this specific product where you can see that we have had consistent renewal rates regardless of the time frame the policies have been issued. So you can see those initial rates, the initial rate, the first renewal, and even on some of the issue dates, we have a second renewal. So they've all been coming in within realm. We price all of our new products with a levelized option budget. So we make sure that we have an equal amount budgeted for each of the years of the surrender period to make sure you can be confident when recommending our products. Here's a snippet of our enhanced agent producer commission schedule. So as you can see, starting at $500,000 in premium in 2024, it's effective January 1st through December 31st of 2024. You can make an additional 25 bips or basis points all the way up to a full additional 1%. And that's all on all of our FIAs qualify for that. So certainly keep that in mind. It's nice, it certainly adds up as we move through the year, and certainly attainable at $500,000. So the product I want to focus on today is called the National Western Life Choice Optimizer. It comes in a 5-year chassis or a 7-year chassis, and it's an accumulation product. So not a lot of bells and whistles. This is for accumulation on a 5 or a 7-year. Pays we're going to really focus on the 7-year. That's been the popular option. Pays a 5% street commission, so really healthy for a shorter year product. And heck, if you sell $2.5 million of it, you get an additional 1%. So you could be making a total of 6%, depending on your volume. So again, it's sometimes we think of annuities as income streams. We think of annuities with a lot of different bells and whistles. This one is really straightforward. When they purchase the annuity, they'll choose from a few different index strategies. We do have a fixed account and a few different opportunities for growth. Today, I'm going to focus on one mainly. One of the strategies within the product is our performance trigger. And we'll talk more about that here right now or in a little bit. We have our key features. Again, Choice Optimizer comes in a 5 or a 7, can be issued up to age 85, non-qualified or qualified money. Minimum premium is $25,000. 1.5 is the max, but hey, if you have a case that's bigger than 1.5, we get exceptions all the time. Please don't turn away that business. As you can see, we also have quite a few index options from which to choose. I will say today, what we see a lot of premium coming in is what we'll talk about, the performance trigger. Our cap rate is really nice. It's an 11.5% cap. And our fixed rate is really nice. It's 5.15% guaranteed that first year. So those are the three that we'll really focus on today. We are RMD friendly, all that good stuff. And so a pretty straightforward chassis all around on the Choice Optimizer. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, where are we today in the market, right? We talk about the S&P. I think the average consumer, when they hear the market, they think about the S&P 500. Might not feel like it in your portfolio, certainly if your portfolio is a mix of stocks and bonds, but the S&P, as of yesterday, the S&P has been up 23% the past year. Pretty solid, right? And if I were an annuity producer or a person looking to purchase an annuity, what's the number one strategy out there, right? It's the S&P annual point to point. Well, historically, if I look at where the index has been over the past 12 months, it's up 23%. Do I think as a producer or as a consumer, how much more upside do we have in the S&P? It's already gone gangbusters. Hopefully there is, right? Hopefully there's more upside. But what if it's flat in 2024? What if it's up 2%, 3%, right? It certainly could be with the massive gains that it's had over the past 12 months. How can you show your advisor, and this is where the trigger strategy comes in, better than market returns with 100% downside protection, right? And we'll certainly talk about the strategy in more detail. Back in October, I saw this article in the Wall Street Journal. How has the average 60-40 stock and 60% stocks, 40% bonds, how has this portfolio been performing in 2023? And you can see this headline. This comes from October 19th. The trusted 60-40 investing strategy just had its worst year in generations. Guess who is the largest cohort who has this investment strategy? My parents, those 70-year-olds, those 80-year-olds who've been taught year after year after year from their Edward Jones guy or whoever they work with, that this is the strategy that will take them into retirement. And it just had the worst year in generations. So how can we use FIAs to interject stability and better performance into their portfolio outside of the traditional stock and bond mix? Let me go back here. So the S&P point-to-point trigger, I'll really lay it out very simply. If the S&P in January 1, 2024 is 4,000, in a year from now, if it's 4,001, your client will get 8.5% return. All the market has to do is be flat or even a penny, literally a penny better, and they get it trigger. Think about it. It just triggers that rate of 8.5%. So extremely simple. Outside of the fixed rate strategy, I personally think it's the easiest concept to communicate to your clients, right? People say they don't buy things they don't understand. Well, This is about as simple as you can get to communicate the value of an FIA. Here's an example of an illustration I ran yesterday of how it works. So year one, the market was up something, they got 8.5%. Same with year two. The market was up something, they got 8.5%. Year three, it must have been down. I don't know if it was down 20% or if it was down 2%. They're protected, and so on and so forth. So you really get that it's binary. You get 8.5%, or if the market's down, you just don't get a return for that year. So extremely simple and straightforward to explain. Tying this back to the S&P performance, like I said, we're at a year high right now in the S&P. Do we think it's going to go higher? Maybe, I hope so. But if it stays flat or marginally better, they're going to get 8.5%. So they even have the opportunity, which is rare in an FIA, to do better than the market, right? Yes, there's S&P caps out there that are high. We have a high one as well. But using the trigger, it doesn't have to do that much better to get 8.5%. Here's that same illustration. On the left, it's the best 10-year. The middle is the worst, and the right is the 10 most recent years. As you can see, the worst period using the trigger-only strategy has averaged 5.88%, and it gives the breakdown there. The best has averaged 6.74%. So we're pushing. I know MYGAs have been high lately, and people have been asking about MYGAs, but with this, you can get MYGA type returns or better on an FIA. And obviously, the clients will appreciate that. So that is trigger only. That is if you were to put 100% of your money into the trigger. I wanted to add something else, just a little food for thought as well, because sometimes when you go to a client review and you see a 0% return, sometimes the clients are like, not my favorite, right? Maybe not your favorite conversation to have. So if that's a concern for you, I've put together a blended strategy using a third in the performance trigger, a third in the S&P 500, and a third in our fixed rate strategy. And as you can see, it's given a little bit more of that upside because we have an 11.5% cap on the S&P. We still have the 8.5 trigger, and we have a 5.15% fixed. The nice thing about this is, you notice, what don't you see in the yellow box? You don't see a 0, right? So you're always, this way, you're always, because that fixed rate is sprinkled in, you're always going to see some sort of rate of return. Yes, the market may have beaten it in some of these years. Sure, Mr. Customer, we're not participating fully in the market, right? Remember, we talked about downside protection. But this gives you pretty solid returns. And back to my breakdown of this particular strategy. So we go, our worst 10-year period turns into 6.92, and our best is 8.89%. So really, you get a little bit more upside here, historically speaking, blending the three strategies together, and you never have a 0 for those client meetings. So we get a lot of feedback that folks do this as well. And as always, if you think the S&P is going to be flat this year, maybe this year you just do 100% trigger, and next year you switch to the blended strategy. It's all up to you. We're really flexible. So I'm going to leave you here. Hopefully that was helpful, and just a simple, quick way for you guys to position the trigger strategy, which is binary. It's market's up, you get 8.5. It's down, you're flat. I want to direct you to the Advisor Resource Center that has marketing pieces and additional information on the product. Our 800 number there is for our sales desk, who handle those advisor-related questions. They can run you quotes. Obviously, URL can run you quotes as well. But we are there always to assist, located in Austin, Texas. And our sales desk email for any questions that you may have. We're very quick to respond and would be happy to earn your business. So with that, I will turn it back over to Cody.
Sure. Thank you for that, Scott. I appreciate it. And thanks for sharing such valuable information on that performance trigger. One thing I wanted to ask on the Choice Optimizer product was, and you might have mentioned it, was with the withdrawal provisions. What are the withdrawal provisions on that product?
Yeah, to be able to keep the rates high, it's RMD friendly. So if you put an older
Perfect.
client in there, you don't have to worry about that. After the first year, it's a 5% penalty-free
Great.
withdrawal. Yep.
Great. Okay, perfect. And then on the commission at the 5%, was that on the 5-year product or the 7-year product that you said?
That's on the 7-year product, and both
Awesome.
products qualify for that enhanced commission program as well.
Yeah, very good. And that is a very, very competitive commission for a 7-year product. So that's fantastic. Yeah. And, a couple other things I want to reiterate that, Scott touched on is there are still spaces that you can fit these index products in. And yes, a lot of folks are chasing MYGA rates and a lot of folks are going after that. But we're now already starting to see these high MYGA rates starting to creep down. And, things are starting to go that way where you can lock in a 1 year at 5.15%. That's a fantastic area to talk to somebody about. Look, if you're worried about the market this year and you want to do this is a great way to start it, because over time, I do feel you'll get better returns from something most of the time from an index product. And if you're talking to somebody about that and maybe they're not super conservative where they just want the guarantees, this is a good area to pitch that to them. And to Scott's point earlier, where he says, it's really MYGA type of returns are better that you can see from this type of product. So that's the kind of spin you want to take with something like this from a growth standpoint. And again, if the market's at 2 or 3%, now we're talking about someone getting 8.5% for something like that. And, when we talk about rates and things like that from 2 years ago, there were some annual point to points that were right around 4 or 5%. So you got folks that are looking at rates that are out there that are double now, and we got one that you can offer at 11.5 here. So just really, really strong stuff. I appreciate you shedding light on this product a little bit. I hope it informs you all that joined us today as well, too. We didn't want to keep the video long. We wanted to inform you, get a lot of good information in there for you. And keep in mind, as he said, anybody on National Western sales team, they're a very good sales team. They can answer any of your questions. Same thing with URL. We'll be happy to help you answer any questions, get started, run any illustrations, anything you need to kind of get you cross-selling or get you selling more annuities, and also getting to really offer these competitive products to your client right now where the market's at, and putting them in their portfolio to make it a little bit stronger. So again, just thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and take care. Happy selling.